Hey everyone, Frank here. Thanks for joining me tonight as I play through Gunstar Heroes for the Sega Genesis. Uh, Developed by Treasure and published by Sega in 1993. One of the greatest action games of all time. This is actually my original copy from 1993. It's survived a number of moves and milestones in my life. It's one of my prized possessions. I don't have a huge video game collection anymore, but it's one of those that keeps surviving my various trips to eBay and emails to friends, trying to offload some of the clutter in my life and just keep the things that bring me joy. So before we get into the gameplay footage, I did want to mention that the original stream here, it wasn't the most perfect playthrough. As well, when I got to the board game stage, I had the most unlucky rolls, meaning that I had to play through the whole darn thing, and it really slowed things down. So what I did is I did my best to tighten up this video footage. So if you see some cuts here and there that seem jarring, that's the reason. I just wanted to cut away some of the footage of me being repetitious for no reason other than the fact, I'm kind of rusty. This is my first time really playing the game, except for a couple just kind of, brief practices in more than, I'd say, a year or two. With that out of the way, let's just go ahead and get into the gameplay. Thanks for joining me tonight as we experience Gunstar Heroes for the Sega Genesis. Thanks for joining me tonight as we watch that treasure logo appear on screen. Tonight I'm playing one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. A game that most people consider, if not the best Sega Genesis game ever made, then certainly in the top 5, top 10, Gunstar Heroes. We watch the cutscene here, where we see an evil force has stolen the various power crystals or whatever they're called, and yada yada yada, plans to take over the universe, kill everybody, all that stuff. You know how it is. Beautiful title screen. Beautiful title screen. Select the single player mode here. One thing I like about this game is you get to pick the weapons and the weapon style before you begin. I usually choose free shot because I don't like to end up getting stuck in place when I'm shooting. All of the weapons, I think, have their strengths and weaknesses. As he says, we've got a force weapon, we've got a lightning weapon, a chaser weapon, which is like a homing weapon, and a flame weapon, which is very powerful. I suck with that one. I'm choosing the chaser. I think that's best for beginners or people like me who haven't played in a while. You can also choose the first 4 stages in any order you want. I love games that do that, because not only does it kick up the variety, but you can choose to get a stage you're not very good at out of the way first and then kind of enjoy the game. But I'm going to go through these in order. So first we'll go against Pink, her army, and the mining machine at the end. As you can see, this is a run and gun style game. Very much in the shades of Contra Hardcore. One of the main differences here, though, is you can throw enemies, throw certain objects. It's a game mechanic that comes in handy later in the game for sure. This first stage here is mostly a breeze. The bosses all have great names. This one is Papaya Dance. If you play this on a higher difficulty level, he lasts longer. He's not going to last very long against me on the normal setting here. I may not intentionally switch weapons at all throughout the game. I find the double chaser to be, for me, the most effective. It is not the strongest weapon, but it works. It is kind of a pain for going up this pyramid, though, because enemies attack you as they're flying past, and sometimes the shots get distracted. So far, so good, though. Can't complain. Now, this is going to be an interesting run-through compared to my typical, because this is actually a game you can get through pretty quickly if you even know a little of what you're doing. And, who knows? I might not get a chance to say what I hope to say about this game. The first time I ever fought this boss here, I got my butt kicked because I was too aggressive. This is a boss that really emphasizes your patience with patterns and getting yourself into danger without staying too close. Sometimes he flies across the screen. It doesn't look like he's doing that now, and I'm okay with that. That was actually a pretty easy run for him. As we slide down the other side of the pyramid here. This game is all-out action, all-out set pieces. You know, it's funny, this is one of Treasure's finest games on the system, and they did do a number of Sega Genesis games. But when you think about it, it's super amazing because it's not like they did dozens and dozens of Sega Genesis games or 16-bit games. They just had a quality team, and whatever they touched, they did well with. They're the ones who were behind McDonald's Treasureland Adventure. Dynamite Headdy, which is, to this day, a very underrated game. I mean, it's a bizarre game, another action game, but it has a lot of creativity to it. I mean, any game where you're fighting against animated puppets who are trying to take over a fantasy world. I'm gonna stay quiet a little bit while I fight this boss, so we can admire the music and the action. That sliding attack against that boss is really powerful. That boss can be a challenge if you don't end up in the right spot against it. I took more damage than I would have preferred, but no harm, no foul. Now we'll select the next stage here. I'm just going to do them in order, I think. The mining cart stage, this is awesome. The final boss is called 7 Force, and if we were playing on the hard difficulty level, we would have to fight all 7 of its forms. Thankfully, on the normal level, it will pick 5, and we should get through that, as long as I haven't forgotten all the patterns. I did play this a couple times leading up to my run here, so we'll see what happens. I just love the pure adrenaline nature of this game. It is so just fun and exciting and everything an action game should be, and it's insane that we got this toward the middle to the end of the 16-bit gaming heyday. Myself, I got this copy of the game, man, like, this is still my original copy from 1993, I believe it was. I remember, yeah, it's got to be 93, because I remember when I got this game, I had just started college the first time around. At the time, studying to be in computer science. I switched to psychology, I think, in my second year. At the University of Washington, their computer science program at the time was going through quite a change, and unfortunately, I would have been better off had I entered a year or two later when they were kind of done getting the kinks ironed out. I ended up switching to psychology, which, you know, was a good major, and I learned a lot. And it certainly helped guide my interpersonal interactions to this day. But let's face it, as a career, since I wasn't going to go into being a therapist or a research psychologist, I kind of, you know, wasted my first round at college. But this game came out in my first year, toward the beginning, and I can definitely credit it toward some of my less than stellar grades in that first quarter at the University of Washington. I think it came out in August or September of '93. And from the first play, I was just entranced by this game. I played it hours and hours that first day. And man, I know that first month I had this game, I played it just constantly. And you'll notice it keeps asking me to have a second player enter the game. You know, back in the day, systems that had two-player play, or games that had two-player play, were highly sought after. As we get to 7 Force here. And just Gunstar Heroes, man, I played it single player and I had a great time. But playing this game two-player is something else. It's just on a whole other level, especially some of the stages where you can kind of collaborate. There's a board game puzzle stage coming up. And of course against the final boss, who's a lot easier if you have a second player. So we go up against 7 Force's first form here. I don't mind the first form terribly much. Might get hit a little bit, but no big deal. I must admit, this form I'm not very familiar with. I've forgotten how difficult this crab form is. He's no joke. I still have 2 more forms left to go. I'm probably gonna die. He's no joke. I love this gun form because he has to reload the cartridge soon. That was intense. That was intense. And that's typically how the battle with Seven Force goes, is there's usually one form from me that I can't quite pin down. Very intense. If I do somehow reach a game over screen, I will continue, because I have more to say about this game, and playing it is just super fun. This stage is a hoot. It reminds me of that stage in Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo where you end up flying on the missiles and then eventually the helicopter. But it's definitely not the same. One thing I'd like to point out from that previous boss is you'll notice the guy we were fighting against was actually one of the supposed good guys from the intro. In the manual, it kind of elaborates on that. But yeah, Gunstar Green there, he is a traitor, and he's one of the people behind the plot to resurrect the ultimate power, Golden Silver, who is very reminiscent of a boss from another treasure game, Alien Soldier. So when this game came out, it definitely did not help my studies. I was talking about the two-player mode. It kind of helped me derail my friends too, because this was one game where if you had it, you could invite your friends over and everyone would want to play. So, you know, you'd play through it with somebody, then a couple other people would play through it. And this was just one of those games that when people saw it and started playing it, they couldn't put it down. I mean, I totally get these days why this game loose sells for like 40 or 50 bucks, and in complete condition sells for upward of 100 bucks. It's quality. Even though it was a Sega title, it wasn't overly produced, because, you know, it came out in '93, and it was at the time where Sega wasn't taking any chances. They were neck and neck in a console war with Nintendo, and Sonic had helped them even things out, and of course Mortal Kombat didn't hurt. Even though that wasn't a Sega game, it was released by Acclaim, it certainly helped sell their systems. I hate this boss. That was pretty awesome for me, I can't complain. There is quite a difference between easy and hard in this game, or sorry, normal and hard on this game. The health power-ups that they're giving me on the normal level are pretty fair. On the hard level, you don't see those very often. This is not the boss. He's just kind of a chump. I used to take that guy as kind of their joke, in-joke sarcasm against M. Bison from Street Fighter. This is the boss of the level, and he's kind of a pain. He's big, he's burly. As we fight this battle on top of a freaking spaceship, or not spaceship, but a high-altitude helicopter of sorts. Ouch. He's not too bad. That kind of falling shooting star press attack, Superman attack is really good on the normal level here. Does decent amount of damage. This next stage has a kind of a board game aspect to it a little way through, so this will be interesting. This is where randomness can help or hurt you, and I hope the computer is kind to us. Yeah, I wish I had a story here where I could say, you know, Gunstar Heroes, when it came out, uh, it didn't sell very well, and it was underrated. No, it came out of the gates. All the magazines were praising it even before it released. Die Hard Game Fan, which was honestly, I feel the better magazine than EGM at the time. It might have even been outselling them some months. They gave this game, I want to say, at least two full pages of coverage. When Gunstar Heroes came out, it was difficult to find because it was sold out, not because it was understocked. We knew from the get-go this was going to be something special. That said, Sega didn't go gangbusters, you know, overproducing it. They made a reasonable number of copies of it, so when retro games started getting popular again, copies of this game became just a little bit tougher to find. Certainly complete copies. Play around with the dice there. I mean, I'm kind of sad that my score reset to 0, but for me, this isn't really a score attack game. It's more of an experience game. You play it because you want to just enjoy the action. I want to say the last Sega Genesis game I ever purchased was actually Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. At the time, I was playing a lot of games on the Nomad, and that was just one that was really enjoyable in that format. The Sega Nomad is another piece of hardware that's gotten very expensive in recent years. I mean, that's one of those things you've got to be really into nostalgia to want one. The screen was never very good, the battery life sucked. Even with the screen mods and the battery mods that you can get for it, I'm not very impressed with what they bring to the table. I know that Analog, the makers of the Mega SG here, have an analog pocket system that's coming out that's going to be able to play everything under the sun. I think that's an awesome idea. Unfortunately, Analog is not going to make enough in the first run to satisfy demand. They never do. I've been lucky with their first couple systems in that I got in on the pre-order for the Super NT and the Mega SG pretty easily. I never bothered with their NT or the NT Mini because I just found those to be too expensive for what you got. And the dude from Retro USB, his AVS system, which is an FPGA NES, is basically the same hardware, but in a more affordable package. And it's also more readily available. I'm glad we got that guy out of the way early instead of later. When it comes to action games, the Sega Genesis really can't be beat. I was definitely a Super Nintendo guy back in the day. It took me a little bit to warm up to the Genesis. Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2 certainly helped. But the one thing I'll say is when it came to action, even though the Super Nintendo had a few really 2 or 3 awesome games in the action genre, and maybe a few more if you count, Donkey Kong Country and stuff like that in its releases. The Genesis just had so many more. As the days and months go by here, I'll certainly be playing a few more Genesis action games just to kind of show off what the system could do. I often feel like that dice only really throws out 1s and 2s for the most part. It's loaded. Look at the cow in the background. Isn't that hilarious? Love it. I totally don't remember this boss, so this could be sad. I was gonna say, I definitely wouldn't mind that one again. That was lucky placement there. I can't chalk that up to skill. Those are some pretty big explosions. I'll have to remember that. Kind of a letdown, honestly, after the dice palace there. What a jerk. Glad I had enough health. So now we've got to go and save yellow, and this is a trap. This stage is awesome, very reminiscent of Contra. I always felt this was also reminiscent of Mega Man X, but I think Mega Man X came out the same year that this game did, or maybe even a little bit after. And I don't think either of the companies ripped each other off. So it's just a happy coincidence. This is one of those stages that really emphasizes the game's contribution to the run-and-gun genre. We finally also get some slowdown from the system, which is impressive. You don't often see that in Sega Genesis games. If you're playing a Sega Genesis game and it starts to slow down, there's a lot going on screen. The Genesis capacity for pushing sprites is legend. And that's one of the reasons why the hardware doesn't have the same huge color selection as the Super Nintendo. When Sega was designing the hardware, they, you know, they opted for having the fast chip that could push a ton of sprites instead of having the graphics processing unit that would push a lot of colors. Nintendo went for a more balanced approach when they were designing the Super NES. And thus both systems have their strengths and weaknesses. I could be destroying these boxes. Some of them do have power-ups in them. It's kind of a pain to destroy the boxes while also fighting. So if I incidentally destroy a box, I'm happy about that. I love how you can grab onto ledges and flip yourself up and down on them. It's a mechanic that I don't think they give you enough opportunity to use in the game, but it's awesome that they incorporated it. I seem to recall the best strategy here is to just sit here, let the shots destroy these guys, and incidentally get a box or two destroyed. One of the things you can do in the Mega SG is toggle a setting that will basically overclock the emulation of the Genesis and get rid of some slowdown. As you can see, I haven't done that. Most games, you don't even notice the slowdown, and this one you really don't. It doesn't get in the way. It's nice that modern clone systems give you that option. I'm definitely a fan of products like the Mega SG and the Super NT. I wish more companies would make retro systems of that caliber and that quality. I don't want to get too into the other companies out there making retro hardware because some of them do a shoddy job, and I don't want to get into that debate or end up getting emails from nasty PR people who are upset that I said something on YouTube, because for whatever reason, even though I don't have a lot of followers, I hear about it when I say something negative about anything. I mean, maybe that goes back to my history back in the day of reviewing video games, but you'd think everybody would be past that by now. I certainly am. I'm definitely much more enjoying my career as an accountant and my hobby of playing video games. Those people who play video games for a living and write about and cover video games for a living, I have so much respect for them, because it can burn you out of the hobby. It can make it tough to actually enjoy the art form, and I don't want to experience that again. I must have reviewed more than 1,000 games during my tenure with various outlets, and while sometimes I had a great time doing it, and I certainly loved interacting with a lot of the people, oh man, you have to play so many stinkers that it just burns you out on the whole concept. Also, you may have noticed tonight that I'm wearing a pink AEW shirt. I'm filming this during October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I think anything we can do to raise awareness and contribute funds to cancer research of all types is a good thing. I have a very scientific mind. I understand that cancer is a natural part of evolution, and if we let things go unchecked, technically, as a species, we would evolve, but by the same token, we've taken control of our evolution, so why not put our resources and our money into getting rid of some of those diseases that are just obsolete? Let's make some of those evolutionary processes obsolete and control our own destiny. I guess what I'm saying is, Hey, anything that lets us live long and prosper, I'm all for. I don't know how I'm going to do against this guy. He's usually pretty easy, but there is some RNG. You need to leave it up to karma in some respects as to what he attacks you with. So far, my karma has proven good. This guy is called Final Soldier, but he is definitely not the final boss of the game. M. Bison wannabe with Dalsim's legs. Yeah, I always felt this guy was a satire about Street Fighter 2. And since Street Fighter 2 was the most popular game at the time, even when this game came out, that just further strengthens my belief in that. Ah. As you can imagine, I was trying to hit him with my Superman attack. Aw, that was unlucky. As I said, sometimes it's the luck of the draw against this guy. This character here in the helmet and cape, he's very reminiscent of one of the characters in their Saturn action beat-em-up, Guardian Heroes. Another great game, by the way, which I believe they made a port for the Game Boy Advance, if I recall correctly. I think I remember playing that and it was awesome. And now that I further recall, I think they made a port of this game for the Game Boy Advance, which is nowadays really hard to find. I don't remember enjoying that port as much as the original here. I mean, when it came to first-time perfection, Treasure, I would say, got this game like 98, 99% perfect. If you're still watching, thanks for sticking around on this. If it weren't Gunstar Heroes, I probably would have made this a much shorter video, but come on, it's Gunstar Heroes, and now we're in the shoot-'em-up section. The Genesis, of course, was no slouch when it came to space shoot-'em-up games. It enjoyed 3 games in the Thunder Force series. I'm on the fence as to whether I prefer Thunder Force 3 or Lightning Force, also known as Thunder Force 4. Probably the 4th game. So remember that boss from the board game level? Well, he's flown up here to attack me now with his freaking space orbs. And on that one, the goal is actually to last as long as possible. Like, you know, to dodge everything and just keep playing until you get bored and shoot him. I'm not trying to make this video any longer than it is. We're having fun, though. At least I'm having fun. If you're not having fun, I would consider picking up a copy of this game. Because then you too can have fun. I was talking to my friend today, we were discussing all of the Street Fighter videos that I've done. And yeah, that's a game that I'm still hardcore passionate about. But I'm trying to mix it up here, because there were a lot of games that were significant in my life, and that were just significant to video games in general at the time. This one checks both of those boxes. I mean, this game, you know, caused me some study hours in college, and was also one of those games that even when I upgraded to the Saturn and eventually the Dreamcast, you know, I never sold this game. I just kept it. Even today, my copy of this game is in gem condition. Manual, box, hang tab, all that. It's one of those things I've cared for all these years, because, you know, it's in my top 10. If it's not my I wouldn't call it my first favorite game of all time, because that's probably Street Fighter 2 in general. But it's in my top 5, let's say that. I love this stage. It's not too challenging for a shoot-'em-up stage, but god, it's fun to watch. As you can imagine, this stage would actually be quite a challenge with 2 players, because some of these objects flow outward from one of the players, which would make the other player have a bit of a disadvantage. It's one of the few stages that does that, but if you're playing 2 players, you can generally take things out more quickly, so it works out. Here's our boy 7 Force again. As you can see, he's much faster now. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't disable the slowdown. It makes it easier to dodge some of his shots. And that was the thing I always found interesting about slowdown in 16-bit games. In some games, it's obvious they never intended it to be there. Talking about you, Gradius 3 for the Super Nintendo. But in other games, you can tell the developers designed it to be part of the gameplay. I'm not sure if they necessarily did that here, but R-Type for the Super Nintendo, I would definitely say that that's true, because that game is so much harder if you're playing on a system that lets you overclock the processor. And there are just spots where the movement is so tight and the bullets move in such a way that you just know that they thought, okay, the system's going to slow down here, let's help out the player. But generally speaking, yeah, slowdown back in the day was one of those things where game reviewers, that was a no-no. They would have a bitch fit. As you can see, one of the best tactics in this game is to hit those item-dropping birds with your Superman attack, because they will drop additional power-ups. It's never a good side in a video game when you end up in a reactor core. Get ready for some cool special effects here. Yeah, back in the day, this was 3D for us. Being attacked by Decepticon heads. On the normal mode, that boss isn't too bad. We've still got his other forms to deal with. On hard, he can be a real pain. More of those heads, and just more of the lasers in general. This section reminds me, for some reason, of a fighting game that they made on the Super Nintendo and Genesis called Balls, with a Z at the end. That game's terrible. Don't buy it. Look up footage if you need to, but never play it. There's a philosophy in life that you should never do anything that you don't enjoy or that's not going to contribute to your enjoyment. And playing Balls is not going to do either. Playing Gunstar Heroes, however, will. It's too bad Transformers wasn't very popular back in the early to mid-90s, because just the way Treasure did this game, and the way 16-bit games were done in general, man, can you imagine an action game based on the Transformers universe back in the day like this? Oh man, it's just funny how trends go in and out. I should be doing a better job of dodging this guy's shots. I just can't be arsed. I love his flaming head. Alright, can we get to the final battle against Gold and Silver, please? Unfortunately, I have to fight the stage over again. That's okay, through the miracle of modern editing. This video won't be quite as long once I actually post it. I'm not complaining. A challenging game with fair challenge is okay. It's when you play a game that has unfair challenge that you gotta get annoyed. And Treasure certainly balanced things out here. I just love the action on the screens there as the different bosses react to what you're doing and get prepared to face you. The Seeking Laser is very similar to the normal homing shots. A little stronger, but also easier to distract. Great against this boss, however, because once you lock onto it, you can stay locked on. I just love the whole idea of a backdrop where you're fighting and the bosses are watching you and getting ready to face you. The nice thing about having this is it'll actually go ahead of you and get rid of things you can't see. Pretty helpful weapon even if it's not the most powerful. We'll get Mr. Orange out of the way here. I just love that name, Mr. Orange. Back in the day, I just thought they were referring to his flesh color, but now I realize he's one of those big buff dudes who used spray on Tanner and used just a little too much that day, so they named him Mr. Orange. Much like professional wrestlers. Which my theory on that is, you're watching a wrestling match and there are two wrestlers come into the ring. The one that's got the most even tan is probably going to win the match. You have a wrestler with a decent tan and another one that's pale. The pale one's not winning. You have two wrestlers, they're both tanned, but one of them looks ridiculously tanned. That wrestler's not winning, probably. That's just my theory. I probably should focus more on the boss than goofy wrestling tan conspiracy theories, huh? Mr. Black here is a boss that usually causes me a little bit of trouble, so we'll see how this goes. The laser-like objects he drops tend to be very difficult to avoid. I think I have the right weapon here, the charge shot mixed with the laser. It's pretty efficient against them, but he has some attacks that are more difficult to dodge, like this one. It's probably the best I've ever done against him in my memory. That stage is really easy if you're playing with two players. Again, I'd highly recommend playing this game with two players if you can. Not sure how easy that is with emulation these days. I think there was a version of this game for the Xbox 360 that allowed online play. This guy can be a pain. Don't get close to him unless you're doing the Superman attack, because he will throw you. One of the reasons I intentionally switched from the double homing laser to, or the double homing bullets to the homing laser here is, he blocks a lot of the homing bullets, and that's just not a picnic. If you're playing two players, one of the best weapons to use against him is the flame weapon. The reason why I say two players is because then one player kind of distracts him, and then the other player just napalms him in the face. If you play the single player and you have the flame weapon against him, you've got to get in a bit too close for comfort, and it's just not great. Especially when you're this deep into the game. Ouch. See, threw me and hurt me a little bit there, but he gone. Too much power for him to control. Never a good thing. Of course, the jackass is going to awaken the ancient hero, Gold and Silver. Which this game actually ties into Guardian Heroes. Guardian Heroes is supposedly set in the past from this game. So if you play Guardian Heroes, you'll have the extra piece of the story as to how Gold and Silver was first brought to life. As you can see, the crystals are the life source. He is just kind of their vessel. That dash attack is straight out of Alien Soldier. Ouch, ouch. I don't know why I did that. Now I'm dead. We'll continue again. So here we are at the final boss fight against Gold and Silver. Or at least the initial section of the final boss fight. Also, if you're playing this game on hard, he has some extra forms. It's one of the reasons why I didn't play this game on hard, though, is I knew this video was going to be long enough as it is when I actually put it together and post it. I don't know why I'm jumping. I feel like it's distracting him. Who knows? It's definitely very good to remember that your Superman attack can bounce you off of walls. You'll notice my score is 0. Yes, through clever editing, I have made one of my continues disappear. I never said I was well practiced at this game. It's one of those games that when you are well practiced at it, you can run through it in about 20-30 minutes, not take a ton of damage. But there are certainly a lot of boss patterns to remember. A little bit of that helpful slowdown again as we fight this epic boss here. Now, Gold and Silver, he's kind of the Frankenstein monster in this story. And here we are at the ending sequence as we follow Gold and Silver. If I recall correctly, if you play this game on the hard mode, there's an extra piece against Gold and Silver. But I'm pretty happy I played this game on the normal mode. I've had a blast this evening. I hope you guys have had a blast watching this video. Hopefully my edits that I made to shorten it up have at least streamlined the experience. I just love this game so much. When I look at a video game and I think of, what I look for, solid action, fun, great gameplay, solid controls, wonderful atmosphere, and just everything coming together. Gunstar Heroes checks all of those boxes and then some. There were always people who would debate whether the Super Nintendo and the Genesis which one was better. They called it the console wars. Honestly, I felt if you owned either system, you won, and if you had both, it was a win-win. As we watch the credits here, I think Gunstar Heroes, though, is definitely one of those games that goes into the Sega column, and just treasure in general. Their games elevated the platform. You take those along with the Streets of Rage series, Sonic, and a few more titles from other publishers, and you just have the lineup go head-to-head with the lineup on the Super Nintendo. And it's pretty favorable. I know there are a lot of people out there who prefer the Super Nintendo even to this day. And if you're one of them and you haven't played a lot of Genesis games, man, you gotta catch up. There's a lot of great games on the Genesis, especially in the action genre. So, with that, we're just gonna enjoy the credits here. I'm gonna say thank you to those of you that watched to this point. I have other action game videos that will be coming. And, if you enjoy my content, feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment. One thing I'm doing with this channel is I'm just posting things that I like. I'm, posting aspects of my life that I, get joy from. So, I'm trying not to monetize anything. I'm just, having a good time, and I hope you are too. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and good night as we let the credits take us out.